Thank you, Suraj. And Jai Satchidanand. I think all of you have heard enough and hope that I don't repeat what you have heard so as to keep you interested in it. So whatever is covered by Dr. Shailesh Pai and others, I'll try to minimize on that and try to emphasize more on what is yet to be said. First of all, we have to really think about what is Vitrag Dharma. Because we are here really to understand Vitrag Dharma. Unless we understand Vitrag Dharma, we will not really know what we are talking about. The Vitrag Dharma, as it is defined, we know that it is a science of liberation. That's the first definition that is given. But it is not the religion and spirituality is separate. The Vitrag Dharma is a spiritual religion. Or in other words, it is the religion that leads to the spirituality. If any religion that does not lead to your own pure soul status, then it is not a Vitrag Dharma. So, if we really want to understand Vitrag Dharma, then we have to also know what is a pure soul, what is our true identity. We need to know the basics. There is not enough time to talk about the pure soul, Shuddhatma, because it will take hours and hours. But the pure soul, Shuddhatma, it is a devoid of attachment, aversion, and even mohaniya karma or moh, the one that we call delusion. It does not have even an iota of all of this. It is truly an infinite knowledge, infinite perception, infinite energy, and infinite bliss. However, we almost ask ourselves that if that is the case, if that's what I am, then how come I do not experience that? Because that is also very important. As I said, that it is our pure form in which we possess these qualities. Those are the intrinsic attributes. And in presence of karmas, we will not experience that. So, this leads to a definition that what is Vitrag Dharma? That to get rid of all the karmas, to attain our own pure status, and as Lord Mahavira has said, all other Tirthankaras have said, that in its pure form, the soul can know all the substances in the cosmos, living as well as non-living, in a split second, not only of the present times, but it will also know the past, all the modifications and manifestation of all the substances, and also the future manifestation of all the living substances as well as the non-living substances. It is amazing, it is beyond our comprehension as to how powerful the pure soul is. And our goal should be really to attain that one. So that is one characteristic, that it is an infinite knowledge and all that. The most important characteristic that people forget is that pure soul is not a doer. Pure soul is only a perceiver and a knower. Gnata drashta bhav, that we call it. Most of the problems that we face in our life is because we really believe in doing, and the whole society is that go get it. So we keep chasing and chasing and chasing. And why do we do that? There is a reason. Because we have identified ourselves, the I, with a other than I. We have identified ourselves with something other than what Deepak Bhai even said. That, basically it is just I am, who chu. And instead of knowing that I am Shuddhatma, who Shuddhatma chu, in between who and chu, we have put Shuddhatma. That is our real identity. But mistakenly, we really have forgotten that we are a Shuddhatma. And then we will say, who Ramesh chu, who chemical engineer chu, who Archana no pati chu, who Balako no pita chu, we get it. That is where the problems start. Because we really identified ourselves with other than what I actually am. So really we have to understand that why we do that. Because we have a total misunderstanding about our own identity. So now, what are the basic characteristics? We talk about the bondage. The bondage is because we are identifying ourselves with other substances. We fall in love with external objects. We try to enhance our, we call karmakrut vyaktitva. This Ramesh name is actually, it belongs to my karmakrut vyaktitva. The one that Dada Bhagavan always kept saying, Chandu Bhai or Mangal Das and all that, That is not me. What I am is the one who is driving force behind this karmakrut vyaktitva. Karmakrut vyaktitva ne je chalak bol ape છે, the one that keeps that karmakrut vyaktitva going, that is me. And people always think that no, Ramesh is the one that I am, and that's where the problems start. So he tries to find the happiness and bliss. Where does he try to find? In other objects, where he thinks that that's what he is. And so he always tries to find the bliss and happiness from the external objects. And Lord Mahavira and all Tirthankaras have said it very clearly that out of those 6 dravyas, 6 substances that we have, Jeev, Ajeev, Dharmastikai, Adharmastikai, time and sky. Only Jeev Dravya, he is the only one who is the knower and who is the perceiver. And he is the only one who can really experience his own nature of bliss and happiness. The permanent happiness, not just the temporary happiness. But that is feasible only when we try to look for ourselves and not into the other objects. And as long as we keep associating ourselves with other objects, we are going to be in an endless cycle of birth and death. Doesn't matter whether you get really into a Devlok or whether it is a Narak or a Tiryans, but it is still a sansar. It is still a sansar with unhappiness, misery, suffering and everything. We all know whether it is Mukesh Ambani, whether it is Bill Gates, or whether it is Obama, they have more problems than you and I, we have it. But people think that, Mukesh Ambani has so much money and Bill Gates has so much money and so they are happy and they are really ahead of us. That is not so. They are probably more miserable and more worrisome than you and I. So if we really want to attain our own status, then we should know what really are the characteristics, what really we should know to achieve that. So first of all, there are few conditions that we really need to know. And one thing is that everyone should have a conviction that I am a pure soul, who is Bhagwan Atma Chu, I am the Paramatma Swarup. This you must have really a conviction to that, not just to say for the sake of saying. And unless you have that one, you are not going to really embark on a Vitrag Dharma. There are a lot of Deravasi, Sthanakvasi, Terapanthi, Digambar and all that. But the true akramik Vignan, Vitrag Dharma, if anyone is truly following, it is the new path that is really being followed by Kanji Swami. Because it is akramik. Today, if you look at all the Jains doing worshipping and rituals and vows and all that, you probably come to a conclusion, just like Dada Bhagavan even said, that it is all kramik Vignan. Let me tell you, the true Vitrag Dharma is akramik and kramik, both. Doesn't matter whether it is Vedant or whether it is Hindu or whether it is Jainism or whatever. The true Vitrag Dharma is both akramik and kramik. How? So if you really think about it, Dada Bhagavan also said the same thing. that we have a Mohaniya karma, which is the main one. Out of all the 8 karmas, the one that is really the one hurting us the most is the Mohaniya karma. And Mohaniya karma is split into 2 parts. Those who know Darshan Mohaniya and Charitra Mohaniya. Darshan Mohaniya is the one that we do identify ourselves with the other objects. That I am Ramesh, I am chemical engineer. That is actually because of the lack of true knowledge of the pure self. So Darshan Mohaniya, how can you really get rid of it? You don't need to do any rituals. You don't need to do any vows. You don't need to do any mantra japa. You don't need to really do anything, but to have a clear understanding as to how this universe functions, how the 6 dravyas they interact among themselves, how the interaction takes place between Jeev and Ajeev, and once you know your true identity, Darshan Mohaniya is getting rid of. You are getting rid of Darshan Mohaniya. So, because you do not need any rituals, rules and regulations, but you only need the correct understanding. And any religion that is knowledge based, Jnana Yoga, not the Karma Yoga, not the Bhakti Yoga, but the Jnana Yoga, is always akramic, because you are depending upon the knowledge. You are not depending upon certain rituals that you have to go to the temple and you have to do this kriya, and only if you do this kriya, then only you are going to be really getting rid of Darshan Mohaniya karma. To get rid of Darshan Mohaniya karma, you have to have a crystal clear understanding as to how these 6 dravyas work, what is the interaction between Jeev and Ajeev, and how can I get out of it. Once you really know, then the darsana. So that is the akramik part. And the kramik part is that after you get rid of darshan mohaniya, to get rid of charitra mohaniya, you have to go through the steps. So darshan mohaniya will bring you to the 4th level, gunsthan. But to go from 4th gunsthan to 13th gunsthan, keval jnana, that is a kramik. There you have to go through the vows and vrat and anuvrat and all kinds of things. So the true Vitrag dharma is both akramik and kramik. Many people think that the religion really practiced by Dada Bhagwan is only akramik, or the religion that was given by Bharat Chakravarti long time ago during the times of Rishabdev Bhagwan. He was the only one who really also talked about akramik. That is not true. The Vitrag Dharma at all times, whether it is here or whether it is in Mahavidya Kshetra or anywhere, Vitrag Dharma is a mixture of both akramik and kramik. So now let's talk about how to get rid of this. So as we talked about it, that first we have to have a conviction that we are a Shuddha Atma. And I am not Ramesh. This is the basic knowledge you really got to know and you got to understand. But just the verbiage alone is not going to take you there. Because many people just, they really recite it. Shuddhatma chu, Ramesh nathi. That alone itself is not going to lead you to the pure status of Shuddhatma. You need to practice it. You need to implement it at every occasion or during all the events that we go through in our life. And Dada Bhagwan has made it very, very clear about it. That judapanani jagrati rakhi darek paristhitino tu swikar kar. Athwa એ જે બીજી રીતે કે ભરેલો માલ ખાલી કરવાનો છે કે જે whichever way you understand, it is the same thing, that every event that is taking place in our life, it is fixed. Why it is fixed? Because it is an effect. It is not the cause. The cause is already given in the past. And once you have given the cause, there is no way you can change the effect. Even Lord Mahavira cannot change the effect. Lord Mahavira was asked during his last few hours that Bhasmagraha is going to take place, and so Kali Yuga is going to start. So why don't you extend your life for only 48 minutes so that the effect of that bhasma will not be there and then Kali Yuga will not start. You know what Lord Mahavira said? 48 minutes is too much, but I cannot extend my life even for 2 seconds. It is that fixed. If it is that fixed for Lord Mahavira, the Keval Gnani, Tarthinkar Bhagwan, then all our occasions, all our events in our life is completely fixed and we cannot change. The attempt to change the current situation itself brings the new bondage of the karmas. And Jana Dada Bhagavan says, he reacted to the situation and that brings the new karmas. That's why they say that just Judapani Jagrati Rakhine, keeping in mind that you are a Shuddhatma and you are not Ramesh, and whatever is happening to the Ramesh, and that is exactly what you want to get rid of it. So just accept it and move on. The moment we interfere, the moment we try to change the situation, the moment we think that it should be done this way, not this way, even a desire to change the situation, forget about changing it, because that's not in your hand anyway. But even a thought, even a desire to change the situation is going to bring you the new karmas. And the cycle of birth and death will continue. It gives a momentum to this endless cycle of birth and death. So that is the one very key important point that we all should have. Keep it in mind that all the circumstances are taking place for a reason, whether you call that vyavasthit, whether you call that scientific circumstantial evidence, whether you call that cosmic power, whether you call that karma vidhata, whether you call that jagat niyanta, they are all interchangeable, all those words. And it takes care of it. Whatever causes we have given in the past, we are going to get exactly same, no more, no less. So whatever unfavorable circumstances come, whatever favorable circumstances come, it is because that's exactly what I had asked for it in the past. Maybe in ignorance. Maybe I thought it was the right thing to do and then it was the wrong thing to do. And that's why I get suffering. But it was our action, it was our cause that we gave in the past that we are really getting all these events in our life. So those you cannot change. So now, one thing that we really want to talk about Vitrag Dharma, and I think this probably might invite some questions from people. People always say that the Vitrag Dharma is the one that, going back to ourselves, which is true. We also know that nobody can do the job for me but myself. Nobody can really take me, they can show me the path, they can give me the guidance, but it is me who has to walk the path. So in a true Vitrag Dharma, keep in mind, in a true Vitrag Dharma, there is no such thing as somebody can give you the Gnan, somebody can give you the mantra, somebody can lift you from the ocean of samsara, birth and death, and just put you on a self-realization, or say that I gave you the Samkit or something like that. You have to earn it. The Gnani Purush can show you the path, yes. He can give you the guidance. He can tell you what are your obstructions, where you are stuck. But that's all he or she can do. It is us who really have to walk that path. Just like, you can give me the instructions as to how to go from here to San Diego and which exit and which freeway and all that things. It is nice to have that instructions. But then who really has to go from here to San Diego? The guy who gave me the instructions or the myself? Same thing applies. That if I really want to attain my own pure status of soul, then I can get the guidance from Dada Bhagwan, Mahavir Bhagwan, Srimad Rajchandra, or whatever, but I have to do the work. Every one of us We have to carve our own hiking trail to liberation. All these Ananta Jivo who have attained Godhood, there are not two living souls who have attained the same way. Everyone has his own way of attaining, going through different cycles of birth and death, and committing different kind of karmas and all that. So there is no such thing as a Rajmarg that okay, just walk this path and you have to carve your own hiking trail, and that is yours and only yours. Gautam Swami had to do his own. Vignan did his own. All of them, they did their own. Even this Prasanajit that he talked about it, even though Mahavir was sitting there and all that things, he was the one working on that trail. Mahavir Bhagwan was not telling him that now Prasanajit stop thinking about all these bad things and start doing this and that. It was Prasanajit who was doing the work. And Mahavira was simply answering it because he was seeing that in his knowledge. Otherwise, if you think about it, it was Prasanajit who did the work. So we have to really do the work. This does not mean that somebody, we still say that, Teto Prabhu Apyo, Srimad Rajendra says, once you attain that self-realization, you always say that you gave me that. But remember, that is just a formality. But we all know, in my class, when I was studying in high school, there are 60 students. And teacher, was giving the same knowledge to everybody. Some of them, they even didn't go to college. Some of them, they really stayed in the same town. Some of them went to the England. Some of them went to USA. So it was the same preaching and the same thing that everybody was getting, but everybody really made his or her way on their own. And we have to do the same thing about that. So now, few things that we really need to know, that why we are really still in a bondage. And I think Deepak Bhai also talked about it. There are 9 elements that we all must have some knowledge about it, because it is one of the most important aspects of Vitrag Dharma. What are those 9 elements? Jeev, Ajeev, Punya, Pap, Asrav, Bandh, Samvar, Nijra and Moksha. Actually, the substances are only how many? Only 2 substances, Jeev and Ajeev. All other 7 that we call elements, actually they are the manifestation, paryaya, of interaction between Jeev and Ajeev. It is nothing but, that's why it does not have its own separate identity. It is created by interaction between Jeev and Ajeev. When Jeev really chases all the external objects, when he thinks that this family, my body, my wife, my children, that is me, and just keeps doing things like that, it gives rise to 4 elements. Which are 4 elements? Punya, Pap, Asrav and Bandh. Good karmas, bad karmas, then stopping of the, influx of the karmas, which is Asrav, and Bandh, bondage of karma to the pure soul. So these are the 4 created. When the person realizes that I have made a wrong friendship, I really was trying to find my identity with wrong objects, external objects, and when he decides that I want to break this friendship is not helping me. This friendship is actually giving me misery, suffering and whatnot, This process of dissociation, that Jeev really decides that I really want to stay away from external objects. I do not want to really put my own egoism in that that is me and all that. That gives rise to three new elements, which are Samvar, Nijra and Moksha. Samvar is a stoppage of the new karma coming in. Nijra is a shedding of the old karmas that we have collected in the past. And when you get rid of all the karmas, then the pure status is nothing but the moksha. So that's why it is so important to understand that how this punya, papa, asra, bandh are created and how they really give a momentum to the wheel of cycles of birth and death. And Samvar, Nirjara and Moksha is the one that really stops this wheel. It destroys this wheel and takes us back to our own pure form. So that's why these 9 elements we must understand as to how they do. Now we also need to know that this glimpse that we are talking about, the bliss and glimpse that we are really talking about, it is our intrinsic attributes, our own virtues. It's not something that we have to gain or get it from outside or anything like that. And the only reason that we really want to get rid of all the karmas and everything is because they are the one obstructing our original identity. So the whole Vitrag Dharma is really going back to ourselves. When you truly become a Vitrag Dharma follower, it goes without saying that you are one of the best players for Mother Nature. You are one of the best players for ecology cycle, because you are going to be really getting rid of so many arambha and parigraha. You will really now not chase the name, fame and recognition. You will realize that I just need the most basic, bare, essential things, just like we call it roti, kapda or makan, and try to be satisfied, be content with what we have and move forward. So this really will put us back to this holistic inner science. I'm sure that there will be some other questions, and I think because we do not have time, let's really keep few things during those questions and answers. Thank you.